everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you all are doing all right. This is the part 2 of our REFramework concept, dispatcher and performer. But here we are going to do a bit more advanced steps, or we'll learn something here. In our previous session, we talked about how dispatcher queues the transaction and how performer process them, right? So if you haven't gone through it, I do recommend you to go through that. In case if you are learning UiPath RE framework. In case if you already know about it, you can skip it and you can watch this video. In here, what I'm going to talk about is that, how you can calculate the success, business exception, and system exceptions when performer process the records or a transaction items, right? Now, you may wonder why we need to learn this, right? This is important when you are in an enterprise in any organization. When you are an enterprise developer, you have to know this, because it's a in most of the automation, this is kind of a basic information that we provide once the automation gets completed. So in a real time projects, you may have to get the informations like how many are successful, how many are business errored out, how many system errored out, right? So to get this, there are two practical and commonly used solution that I'll show you. It will become handy for you. Now, before we go through the approaches, I have right now I'm on a screen of Dispatcher. I don't have any changes, or I'm not making any changes to this because we are going to only focus on the performance. So I'll just trigger Dispatcher. All right. Let the dispatcher run. So just to give you an idea, what it does, the dispatcher or the process, this is that it opens the sales opportunity of UiPath, and it downloads all the data that it has, the number of records it has, and then it uploads into a queue, which we have called sales data queue in this manner, which has account name and quantity. All right. In our performer, what we have a logic in the performer process is that I'm just going to open that. I have a logic I have mentioned. Consider it as a business exception. All right. If the quantity is more less than or 20, well and good. But if it is more, it says that quantity is not available. A kind of a business exception I'm throwing. Right. Now here we are going to focus on two things: business exception and the success scenario. But similar case would be is that you will get the system exception count as well. Now, to proceed again further with the giving you the two solutions, what is business and system exception that I'm gonna talk about. So the business exceptions is kind of those exceptions where it has been defined. In the case, say, for example, today is holiday, right? So if it is holiday, sometimes your process should not be running on the holiday dates, right? So that kind of a logic, you already know about it, and there is no action is needed. Maybe certain actions are needed from business end, right? So these are the known exceptions is called business exception. System exceptions are those which are unknown to us. So for instance, array out of bound we have reached. When you're dealing with an array, you reach out of bound exceptions, right? Or when you're dealing with maybe say looking into a dictionary trying to get the file, but that file is not there at all, right? So that becomes a system exceptions, because you through process you're trying to download the files, but once you download that file, it should be present in the dictionary, but it is not, in the sense in your files and folder system, but it is not available. That becomes a system exceptions, or a system exceptions where some null value are getting passed to a argument to another workflows, right? So these are called unknown exceptions or are technical glitches in the processes. So that comes under system exceptions. Get the count of it to overall when you're dealing with the performer. You although you get these details in the orchestrator, but send it in a report to on a real time basis. What we are going to do, we are going to perform these two approaches or any one of these approaches depending upon your needs. First approach is that I'll go to the performer. Okay, this is the performer. The first approach is using variable and incrementing the counter. When you want to do this, when you just want to get the number, that's it. You don't It doesn't matter what is the record and what is the error message or anything. You just want the count. That's all. And you may have to you can use this count to send it in maybe in an email or in a Teams chat or anything such uh, methods, right? But you just want the count. It doesn't matter what kind of an error, business error you receive, what kind of a system error you receive. You don't need that. So to do that, it's very simple. I have already implemented the solution because I don't want to take much of a time. So if you see here, I have initialized three variables: SE count, BRE count, and success count. SE is system exception, BRE is business rule exception, system success count is success. No, success count as name defines. I have initialized it into 0. All right. Now in the process, let me open this process. Now, if you see here, I haven't made any changes into the process, the workflow. Whatever was there earlier, it remained as is. But what exactly the changes I have done here is that the main XAML file, this is what I have done. I have assigned, took an assign, or I have dragged the assign variable and incremented the success count. Similarly, in the business exception, handling the business exception catch block, count has been incremented, and then same thing, system count has been incremented. Now, remember the scope of these variables should be under main XAML file. Okay. Now, once this is done, in the no transaction part or no data transaction or transition state, I just printed a log message saying that this is my success count, this is my business count, this is my system count. If you are not aware, the environment.new line is basically, when you try to print something in the screen, it lets you to have a new line character in the output panel that you're seeing, right? And this is basically, in case for me specifically, I don't like to have it everything in one line. For me, I like to have it have the data or even in the coding as well. I like to see them in a line by line manner. So I use usually, to split in one single line into multiple lines. You use plus space underscore. Okay, meaning plus space underscore. Now you can type anything. Say for example, double quote, right? So what happens is that this will uh, in the coding it will appear in the new line, but if you don't have this new line character while providing the output to you, it will be shown in a single line. All right. This is just for a readability. Uh, Let me just do a zoom in, just so I'm not sure if you are able to see correctly. So I just did a zoom in, and this is what it is. All right. So if you want to look into it, and maybe if you're trying to replicate it, you can pause the video. I'll skip it. I'll proceed further. Now that's it. That's all I have done. Now what I'll get is the count of how much success, how many are business exception, how many are system exceptions. Let us run this and see if we are getting the counts. All right. So it's running, as you can see. Now done. If you see here, the success count is 3, business exception 5, system exception 0. Obviously, we don't have a system exceptions now, so it's 0. The second approach is bit advanced, wherein you would be basically able to produce a report which is kind of which also has an information status information of success, failed. In the failed, you again have two branches, right? System or business exception. So when you want to do this, when you basically want to store the details of each transaction results, and you want to generate a maybe an Excel report out of it, or and see track each transaction information. All right. So for that, again, I have already built it. I just commented it out just to to save the time. I can keep this as is because again at the end I would require this information. So I'm just gonna enable what I have done. So I have created one data table, build data table. All right. So output would be DT result data, and it has account name, quantity, and status. Same, the data I'm getting it from the transaction, queue transaction, account name and quantity, and status is basically, whether success or failed, I'll get it from each transaction. Now, this is done. In the process state, I need to again make some modification to the main XAML of process state, which is I can delete this. I no longer need that. I have just unhid it. I created one XAML file, okay, or sorry, workflow, which is called update result. It only has one activity. I'll tell you why I created separate workflow to just for one activity. It has, before I explain to that, I'll just talk about what this contains. It has three things: count name, quantity, and result. Same, the DT result which I talked about, right? I'm passing the account name and quantity and result from the transaction to that data table and adding a row. Now, why I'm doing this like this is that, to showcase the best practices or concept of code maintenance as well. So when you work on an enterprise level automations, you must keep in your mind that whatever you're trying to build, can you make it reusable in multiple stages of your project? It can be in your different projects as well. Just think about it in a way that you uh, reduce the rework of doing same thing again and again. That too, also you maintain it. So in future you want to change this concept into something different, altogether different, then you just have to make changes at one level rather than making in the changes in multiple levels, right? Multiple part of the code. So that is the reason I created one XAML file and then added this activity. Now in here, as I mentioned, I passed informations, right? So the account name, I'm getting it from transaction, and then the quantity, I'm passing this from the transaction, which is I'm getting, and then hard coding the success value as a success, okay? And then this one, the result, all right? Now, once I'm done with it, same thing I copied and I'm gonna paste it in the business exception as well. Here also, what I'm doing in status, I'm just mentioning it as a BRE. In if I want either I can keep it as this or I can extend this into say exceptions we received, right? Exception dot message. It gives us the exact error message. All right. So same thing, everything remains same. Just I made changes to the status information, and then same thing here also. So for the system exceptions, I'm just going to make the changes to the status. Here again, exception dot message. We are done, right? Now, this is just done one part of it. The last part, what we need to do is the preparing a consolidated report, which is basically, creating a final. I just created. I don't have any file that is created here, so I'm gonna create a new file called final result and then add the data. Put it in the header as is. All right. Now here is what the count that or I'm capturing the count based on like this. Let me zoom in here. So what I'm doing, DT result, which it basically has the data, entire data of all the transaction, put it into one data table, and checking status is equal to success. If it is done, if it is yes, then I'll get the count of it, right? So I got the count. Now business exception. Here again the same thing, but if you notice, I just made a change, right? BRE space minus, and then let me go back to that change that I made recently. I'll scroll down for business exception. This is what we have done, right? Just go back to the design of the business exception count, and zoom in a bit, this is what we have done, right? So what I'm going to do, instead of equal, I'll make it as contains, and then this. All right. Now we should be good. So what I have done, earlier it was contain because I only had a BRA in it. I don't have anything. But now, apart from BRE, I'm actually printing the exact error message. We are getting it from the process transactions, right? Now, if you give it as equal, what happens? There is no record which will have equal BRE, right? It will have BRE and then uh, space minus and then the informations of exact error message. So to get the count, you have to use contains. All right. What did I do? Sorry. Yeah. And then same thing applies over here, right? Uh, just a second. Let me just take it. Did I give a single space, multiple space? That also matters. I could just give SE as well, contains SE, but I don't want to take a risk because sometimes what happens if you just give SC or BRE, if your error message contains that keyword, then it would be ultimately considering that as a one, right? Or it will consider that as a count to it. So I don't want to give it as just BRE or just SC. I want to give it as full or a unique reference to both business exception or a system exceptions. Now we are done. All right, system exceptions, everything is done. Now, what will this process does now is that, it will produce a report to you. One, it also calculate the count to you. So before that, we need to run the dispatcher. Let me run the dispatcher first. This is the data that we have. Dispatcher is running right now. Done. Now, let us run the performer. Now, performer has started running. Now, you see, we have 13 counts, 0 business exceptions, 0 system exceptions, which is wrong, right? We should be having some business exceptions, right? So something went wrong, which is what we need to do, which is basically, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We missed 5 business exception count. So where did it go wrong? So that we will check. So we'll go here, we'll recheck the business exception thing. Okay. Now, you see, I made some mistake over here, right? Instead of business BRE, I changed it into SC. So that is my mistake. So instead of BRE, SC, it was BRE. So here it should be SC space minus. All right. Now let us again rerun dispatcher. Meantime, I can delete this file, which I don't want it anymore. Try again. Done. Hopefully this is done. Yep. Let's run the performer again. Now we need to have 13 success, 5 business exception, 0 system exception. Let's see. That's right. Now we have the correct result. How about we do one more uh, check? Total records, total count. All right. This total count is nothing but dt result dot rows dot count dot toString. Basically, what I'm trying to get is that total number of rows or total number of records that we have processed, irrespective of business exception, system exceptions, or a success. So to do that, I'll be mentioning total records processed, total count. All right. Now Let's run this again. And oh, before that, dispatcher needs to be executed. Now let me trigger the performer, but before that, let's delete this off. It doesn't impact anything as such. The write range is there, right? So again, it will just uh, write the data back to the same sheet. But again, I'm just trying deleting the file. Doesn't matter if you keep it as this. Done. You see? So 13 plus 5 is 8. Sorry, 18. So we have the total counts. All right. So to summarize, solution 1, which I talked about, variable, is very simple, quick, and best when you need only the numbers, right? The solution 2, however, is a data table plus link concept that we have used, which is slightly complex, not major complex process, but it's best for reporting and analytical purpose. And this is the second approach is suitable for most of the enterprise solutions. Okay. Now, that's it for this video. If you found this helpful, please share, like, and subscribe. In the next video, we'll continue more real scenarios of the dispatcher and performer. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Bye.